Today we're taking a look at these NFL matches, which are happening on Sunday, December 18, 2022, and giving you match breakdowns, betting tips and predictions in general on these games. Welcome back to High Stakes. Before we dive into our video, don't forget to subscribe and push that notification bell to get notified as soon as we release these sport prediction videos. Also, check out our perks and join the High Stakes membership. Joining the High Stakes membership is easy, is cheap, but it will help a lot in the growth process of this channel. Plus, if you would like more betting tips and predictions, then check out our Patreon in the link down below. Our new Patreon is a way for us to help you improve your chances of making more money. Multiple plans are available for each and every one of you. By becoming a member of the High Stakes Patreon, you will have access to our best team picks, total picks, parlay picks and much more. Stop wasting hours of your time searching for bad betting predictions that ends up costing you a lot of time and money. Join the High Stakes Patreon now and get the best betting picks. Going back to our video, we will give you 2 betting picks for each game, a team pick and a total pick based on facts and detailed explanation. One more thing before we start, check out our new channel High Stakes Props and Parlays, where you can find our player props and parlay picks predictions. You will find the link in the description and comments section below. And make sure to watch our videos till the end so you don't miss any of our picks. Arizona Cardinals vs Denver Broncos. While you may have enjoyed watching Russell Wilson finally break out for a game last week, it was probably more of just a fleeting moment. Nobody can even sure that he will clear concussion protocol and be under center on Sunday. Then again, Brett Rypien probably won't be much worse in this stale and unimaginative offensive scheme. But regardless of who is under center, does Denver even at home deserve to be a favorite? It's tough to suggest betting the Broncos when they are 0-5 against the spread as favorites this season. But the Cardinals aren't exactly a can't-miss team right now with the injury to Kyler Murray, and while Colt McCoy can be serviceable, there wasn't anything dynamic about his performance in either of the 2 games he started earlier this season or this past week against New England, which, for all intents and purposes, was a full game. In games played for McCoy, Arizona is 1-2 against the spread, but if you want to go super granular, you could say that Arizona is 1-0 Austrian shillings as an underdog in games started by McCoy. A stretch? Sure, but when it comes to these 2 teams there is a lot of squinting and stretching needed. Denver's defense handles the pass well, but can be vulnerable to a run-heavy approach with James Conner. Arizona struggles defensively against both the run and the pass, but aside from this past week the Broncos' offense has been stuck in the mud all year. Denver won't have some sort of a revelation and suddenly to turn it all around, so I expect this one to remain pretty close throughout the game. Our first pick is Cardinals plus 3 points. When 2 backup quarterbacks are starting for 2 struggling teams, it's pretty tough to imagine there will be a ton of points scored in this game. Colt McCoy has led the Cardinals to 1 win in his 3 games, and while they did score 27 points that game, it was against a Rams defense that was missing a significant number of players. Meanwhile, Brett Rypien started 1 game earlier this season, and the Broncos scored 9 points against the Jets. The under is 11-2 in Broncos games this season and 5-7-1 in Cardinals games. But that mark for Arizona is a bit deceiving, as there was a 6-game stretch in which the over hit when it was more about the opposition scoring points and letting Arizona score some points late. Given the strength of Denver's defense, we don't see them letting the Cardinals get to the end zone very easily here, so you know the lean. I will say that if Russell Wilson clears concussion protocol and is under center for this one, I would go the other way, especially if the 36-point mark stays the same or ticks up by just a point or 2. Our second pick is under 36 points. New England Patriots vs Las Vegas Raiders. Can the New England Patriots follow up on their big Monday Night Football win over the Cardinals, or will the Las Vegas Raiders muster some late-season pride and pull out the victory? I lean toward the former. Bill Belichick's protégés generally haven't fared too well as head coaches, and I don't see Josh McDaniels taking down his former boss. I'm not saying New England's offense is magically fixed, but they clearly made some adjustments during the 10 days off they had as a result of a Thursday night game. The passing game looked much improved against the Cardinals, and Matt Patricia is finally getting a bit more creative as an OC. Las Vegas, on the other hand, has gone back to being a complete dumpster fire after a brief resurgence. The Raiders rattled off 3 straight wins, but promptly threw away all the progress by blowing a 13-point fourth-quarter lead in a game when the Rams were starting afresh off the plane Baker Mayfield at quarterback. And when you take a closer look at their 3-game win streak, it becomes a lot less impressive. They beat the Broncos, Seahawks and Chargers. All the wins were by 1 score, and all were against teams struggling at the time. Right before that streak started, they lost at home to the Colts in the first game of the Jeff Saturday experience. That's the only game the Colts have won since October 16. Meanwhile, when the Patriots played the Colts, they won 26-3. I trust Belichick to outcoach McDaniels, and I certainly don't think the Raiders have a significantly better roster. Our first pick is Patriots plus 1 point. The under makes sense in this game. I'm skeptical that Josh McDaniels will have much success game-plan-wise against a Bill Belichick defense, and the Raiders have shown plenty of times that their offensive floor is pretty low. They scored 16 against the Rams last week, even with Aaron Donald out, and it wasn't that long ago that they got shut out by the Saints. At the same time, one decent game from the Patriots offense against a rapidly spiraling out of control Cardinals team doesn't mean that unit is suddenly going to be good. The Pats have still been pretty anemic offensively over the past month, and even in their win over Arizona, they weren't as good as a 27-13 win might suggest. Mac Jones averaged 6.7 yards per attempt, and they had 328 yards of total offense. They only put up 27 points because of a scoop-and-score defensive touchdown and some other Arizona miscues. The Raiders will be attempting to run as much as possible with Josh Jacobs to avoid New England's pass rush, and the ceiling of this Patriots passing game is average. Our second pick is under 44.5 points. Cincinnati Bengals vs Tampa Bay Buccaneers. We have teams headed in very different directions here as the Tampa Bay Buccaneers host the Cincinnati Bengals. Cincy started the year 0-2, and there was a lot of talk about a potential Super Bowl hangover. They've since gone 9-2 in their last 11. They beat Cleveland by 13 last Sunday, and that was right after beating the Chiefs in an AFC Championship game rematch. The Bengals were without Ja'Marr Chase for 4 games, but weathered the storm, and Joe Burrow has played at an MVP level. Tampa, on the other hand, is in freefall and just got smoked 35-7 by the 49ers in Brock Purdy's first career start. Tom Brady and the offense have been anemic as they've scored more than 22 points just once all season, and that was all the way back on October 2nd in a loss. The Cincinnati Bengals head into this matchup 9-4 for this season. In their last contest, the Bengals faced the Browns and walked away with a win by a score of 23-10. Joe Burrow connected on 18 33rds with 239 yards passing and 2 TDs. He had a quarterback rate of 85.3 and ended the game with 1 interception. Joe Mixon was the leader on the ground for the Bengals with 14 attempts for 96 yards, 6.9 yards per carry. Ja'Marr Chase averaged 11.9 yards per catch by accumulating 119 yards on 10 catches. The Cincinnati Bengals ran the ball a total of 26 times and compiled 136 yards, which came out to an average of 5.2 yards per tote. In all, they had 61 plays which gave them 363 yards. Cincinnati gave up 26 pass completions on 43 attempts for 273 yards and a completion percentage of 60.5%. Against the rush, the Bengals gave up 71 yards on 25 tries, which is an average of 2.8 yards per run surrendered. Now the Bucs are dealing with a couple of key injuries on defense, as it looks like both Vita Vea and Jamal Dean will miss this game. The loss of Vea is a huge blow to their run defense and great news for Joe Mixon. Without those guys, I don't see how they'll be able to slow down the Bengals offense enough to keep up. Last week they let Purdy average 8.8 yards per attempt on them. The Bucs are 4-7 in their last 11, and all of those wins were close games against struggling teams. They haven't won a game by more than 6 points since September 18. I lay the points with the Bengals. Our first pick is Bengals minus 3.5 points. In terms of scoring, the Cincinnati Bengals are averaging 25.8 points per outing. As a team, they're holding an average of 103.6 yards via the ground game, giving them a rank of 24th in the National Football League. The Bengals have earned 4,832 total yards for the season. Cincinnati has earned 177 first downs, and they have been hurt by 66 penalties for 499 yards. They have surrendered the football 13 times, 9 interceptions and 4 fumbles. When it comes to scoring touchdowns, Cincinnati has earned 27 touchdowns through the air and 13 rushing touchdowns. The Bengals are ranked 11th in the NFL in relation to the opposition scoring, giving up 20.4 ppg. Opposing teams are running for an average of 4.3 yards per run and 111.0 rushing yards per game over the course of this season. In total, they have conceded 1,443 rushing yards through 13 games. When talking about passing yardage, the Bengals have surrendered 2,861 yards, which has them ranked 20th in the NFL. They have conceded 220.1 yards per contest through the air, as well as allowing a completion percentage of 59.1%. Over the course of this year, they have allowed 331.1 yards per outing, ranking them 14th in the National Football League. They have conceded 12 touchdowns by air, in addition to 11 touchdowns running the ball. I'm playing the under here. The loss of V2V is bad for the Bucs overall, but if it means the Bengals are running the ball a lot more, it might not be bad for this under. Cincy is a bit banged up at receiver as well, with both Tyler Boyd and T. Higgins nursing injuries. Tom Brady hasn't been on the same page with Mike Evans all season, and the injury to stud left tackle Tristan Wirfs has made already bad protection problems worse. Brady doesn't trust his O-line, and understandably so. They can't take many shots down the field because they can't block it, and when they do, Brady just hasn't been hitting them. And it doesn't matter whether it's Leonard Fournette or Ratchet White, Byron Leftwich is going to keep calling inefficient run plays on first and second down. There have been 42 or fewer total points scored in 5 straight Bucs games, and I wouldn't expect many fireworks here. Our second pick is under 44 points.